This is an unusual state, an unusual situation for a particular reason. After the process was started, the goalposts were moved when John Stemberger, president of the Florida Family Policy Council, agreed to leave the marriage amendment. It required 50% of the votes to enact it. And in the time since he began, the legislature, led by Republicans, required 60% to pass an amendment like this. Nonetheless, John and his statewide coalition proceeded, knowing that suddenly they had a much, much harder challenge. On the day required to turn in the requisite number of signatures, John and the coalition turned in well above the 611,000 signatures necessary to put this amendment on the ballot. But on the very day they were holding their press conference to announce that they had met the requirement, the Florida Secretary of State suddenly reduced the number of signatures that they said were on it by about 30,000. It seemed that the election registrar in Miami-Dade County, who you might remember from the Chad counting days of the Bush election in the year 2000, suddenly decided that about 30,000 of those ballots had been counted twice, perhaps. They wanted to count them again. Now, of course, the time was ticking away for the final deadline, and if the requisite number of petitions were really not there, the amendment would not go on. And day after day passed, and the people in Miami-Dade were still recounting. It turned out that there were 13 days left, and John and his coalition did not know how many petitions they needed. And so what they did was to start collecting signatures over again. And in 13 days, they turned in another 92,000 petitions from the people of the state of Florida. When John took on this challenge, he had not even formally taken on the job of president of the Florida Family Policy Council. But John Stemberger is a man who was up to a difficult challenge. And so as he started that new job in that brand new organization, which Brad Miller's staff had traveled many days to organize, John stepped right into this huge, huge battle. He's being badly outspent in Florida, and it will be up to God's people across the state in a massive outpouring of grassroots action that will carry the day. And they are close to that 60% popularity in the polls. A lot of prayer needs to happen, a lot of checks need to be written, and a lot of work needs to be done door to door in Florida. If God's definition of marriage will reach that 60% plateau in that state, regardless of the outcome, to step into this kind of a challenge, when you're stepping into a brand new job, into a brand new public policy organization, as John Stemberger has done, shows the kind of grit and determination that it requires us to give him the next Grassroots Champion Award. So John Stemberger, please come forward.
The really frustrating thing about this award is that I can't appropriately thank the ones that really need to be thanked, starting with my wife, who's amazing, who just says, honey, people are sent away for war for months and years. Just do what you need to do. And so I've been on the road literally for months, and she's amazing. Thank you. Yes, very appropriate. Very appropriate. Need to get that clip, Stuart. Secondly, my staff, who's just outstanding. And Raphael's here with me as part of our staff, but they're just very hardworking. And then finally, just the hundreds of thousands of volunteers. And actually, I had the privilege of introducing John and Virginia Brooks from Palm County, two of our great volunteers in South Florida. But those are the folks that really have done the work. And so I'm very grateful to them. And to Focus. You know, a lot of people say they're going to help you. Focus actually really does help you. I mean, it's like they fly over, and guys like Brad will rappel down and parachute in and beat up the bad guys, and they'll come back out, and they drop down supplies, and they're not just waving going, "Hi, see ya." They're actually helping you. So it's really a profound gratitude that I accept this award along with Kathy and Ron. You know, we are experiencing cataclysmic social change that is unprecedented in the history of human affairs. Things that were unthinkable just a decade or two ago are now not only thinkable, but they're being promoted as virtuous, and in some cases have been given the full force of law and public policy, and are being smuggled illegitimately into the Constitution. People say to me, what motivates you? Would you left this lucrative law practice to do all this stuff? And I'll tell you what motivates me. I'll tell you a little story about a little boy in Miami who, 5 years old, thought subjectively, fully boy in every way, thought he wanted to be a girl. And so with the help of his parents and counselors in the public school system, they counseled him into a complete state of confusion and obscurity. So now he is dressed as a girl, is called a girl's name, uses girls' bathroom in the public schools in Miami. That little boy motivates me. My own son, when he was, Phil Barres talked to me about this, when he was 4 years old, said, "Daddy, I think I want to be a little girl." What did I do? Did we say, "Oh, he's special, let's give him counseling"? No, I said, "Son, God's made you a little boy. You got special equipment, man. You're in the fraternity, brother, not the sorority." I helped him with that sinful little thought that he had to think clearly about who he was before God. I think about the children in Massachusetts that are being taught at second grade how to read with primers that model homosexual parenting as if it's on the same moral, social, and legal equivalent as marriage between a man and a woman. Heather Has Two Mommies, The King and the King, available for your public school consumption. I think about the children in Scandinavian countries who have no picture of marriage at all. They grow up in a society being socialized. They have no picture of marriage. Literally, it's the abolition of marriage. It's not about gay marriage. It's the abolition of marriage. It's not available. And so people cohabitate. Civil unions are the order of the day. People opt for the contract instead of the covenant. And so it's the dissolution of this institution that God has created to put in the earth, ultimately, to say something about the gospel. Marriage is a powerful symbol that speaks something about the unity and the diversity of the nature of God himself. It says something about Christ's love for the church. And in the book of Revelation, we realize, wow, it's the marriage supper of the Lamb, the culmination of all things. Marriage is this picture from Genesis to Revelation of God's plan. It says it's something about, it goes to the essence of the human experience itself. It couldn't be more important. And it's my privilege, along with Ron and Kathy, to fight this fight. And thank you for your support of Focus. It couldn't be more important, and it couldn't be more helpful. I want to close with this comment, this little story. We met with several presidential candidates last year, and one of them was Mitt Romney. And one of the things he said was very fascinating. He said that 1 year after homosexual marriages were legalized in Massachusetts, that the public opinion polls shot up considerably to assimilate to the standard of the law. Isn't that interesting? You don't think public policy is important? People's behavior, their values, their beliefs assimilated to the level of what the law was. Public policy is very important. It shapes even whether or not the gospel is going to be presented. So thank you for your committed to Focus action, and thank you for what you're doing here today. God bless you.